What do you do if you feel like people are constantly crossing your boundaries and pushing your buttons at work? How then can you be assertive without sounding rude or aggressive? Let's discuss 6 ways in which you can become more assertive in your workplace without being aggressive. Before we dig in, if you are new here, welcome. Click the subscribe button. I publish 3 episodes every single week geared at helping you advance in your career, increase your earning potential whilst maintaining that tricky integration between your personal life and your work life. And if you are a subscriber and regular viewer, again, I'm so happy you're watching. Don't forget to like this video. So what does being assertive actually mean? It means communicating your needs and wants in a compassionate manner. It also means speaking up for what you believe in whilst taking into consideration how other people feel. Being aggressive, on the other hand, means telling it like it is. And you've probably had people say, I just tell it like it is. And this is usually saying things out without regard to how other people are going to feel about what you're saying or how you're saying it. Aggression also borders on if you're feeling hurt and you're expressing your opinion in an angry way, then this can come across as aggression. Aggression is counterproductive. It usually doesn't achieve anything because the other person reacts. So whilst you're probably in a scenario where you're feeling like, oh my goodness, people are violating my boundaries, they're not listening to me at work, going about it in an aggressive manner is not going to get you results. What we want you to do, what I want you to do, is for you to be assertive, because assertive ensures longevity. So you are in your career for the long haul. You want to advance, you want to grow, you want to build amazing connections and relationships within your workplace. And by being assertive, you can get what you want whilst maintaining that positive relationship. You might be sitting there wondering, do I really need to master this assertive game when it comes to communicating in the workplace? Yes, you do. And you know what? There are massive disadvantages to not being assertive. One of them being you burn out because you are always being delegated with all these extra things and extra tasks since you don't have clear boundaries. And as a result, it leads to burnout and you become resentful. People who end up in that situation tend to quit their jobs prematurely without needing to have quit the job. You might end up leaving a company where you had so much promise and so much potential simply because you were not assertive. The other disadvantage of not being assertive is people disrespect you. People lose respect for you because you do not clearly communicate and because you look or seem like a pushover. So people who are passive and not assertive do so because they want to be liked, but unfortunately it has the opposite effect. Look at it this way. Have you seen kids with their parents? Instead of children being grateful that their parents do everything for them, what do? Children actually feel entitled and they're not necessarily grateful to their parents. I mean, look at yourself as a child. For example, I know for me, I became grateful once I was an adult, but growing up, my mom was working really hard, but it wasn't really making sense to me, and I felt a level of entitlement. And if that's you, that's the same scenario playing out in your workplace. On the other hand, being assertive means you can concentrate on the important things because you're not running around trying to put out every single fire. Because remember, you have a team and you're not the one who's meant to be doing everything. And when you're assertive, you just get to concentrate. You can advance in your role, in your skills quicker because you have that singular focus on your key performance indicators. When you're assertive as well, you are more respected because you don't let things slide. You address issues as they come up. More importantly, when you're assertive, you have less anxiety because because again, you're addressing issues as they come up, so things are not piling up in the background. You're not avoiding confronting or tricky situations, because again, you address things as they come up. And the biggest advantage of being assertive is it increases your self-confidence and your sense of self-worth as well. A story that came up for me when I was preparing for this episode was when I was in high school, my geography teacher used to pick on me all the time. And instead of me actually going to him and telling him how uncomfortable his behavior made me feel in class, I never did that. As a result, I used to avoid geography class at all costs. I used to go and sit and hide in the corner. I used to just make myself small in the hope that he wouldn't notice me. Now, when I look back, imagine the massive difference if I had actually gone to him and spoken up and asked him to stop doing what he was doing. Because sometimes when you actually stand up to people like that, they realize that, oh my goodness, this is not funny, because maybe they think it's funny and they stop doing that. A scenario that might be playing out in your workplace right now is maybe your manager calls you out about mistakes in front of everyone. Instead of you letting it slide and being passive because you want to be liked, you can actually take your manager. It doesn't have to be your manager, it can be your coworker. Take them aside and tell them that you appreciate feedback, but you would rather have this feedback in private rather than being embarrassed in front of everybody else. So by doing this, you stop that situation from happening in the future. You have stated your boundary. One that is closer to home for me is being from Zimbabwe here in Australia. I tend to wear different hairstyles, and sometimes at work, if I have a new hairstyle, people come in, oh my goodness, your hair looks so beautiful, and they want to touch my hair. And for me, personally, this doesn't apply to everyone. I find it disrespectful for a coworker to touch my hair, because hair is it's an intimate thing to me. I just don't go around touching other people's hair. As a result, I don't expect or want other people to just come and touch my hair. My sister can touch my hair because we have that relationship between us. Or my mom, my niece, my nephew, they can touch my hair. My loved one can touch my hair, but not anyone can just touch my hair. And I remember in the past, I used to just sit there and just put up with it and let people admire my braids and touch my hair, until I was like, nah, this is where I draw the line. So now whenever I walk into a workplace, I make it known, like if someone comments on my hair, how beautiful it is, I say thank you. If they want to touch it, I ask them not to. That is my boundary. And I found that I don't even need to tell everyone, because good news travels fast. So if I tell one person not to touch my hair, they will let other people know, oh my goodness, Lorraine's hair is beautiful, but please don't touch it. I don't even say this in a rude or aggressive manner, not at all. I actually say this in a very polite way. Thank you so much. Please do not touch my hair. So being assertive and being aggressive are two different things. What you're aiming for is being assertive. So what are the ways in which you can practically apply being assertive in your workplace and in your communication today? The first thing is to know what you want and what you don't want. Don't pretend to like things that you don't like. If you don't like something, you don't like it. You don't have to pretend to be passive about it, because with time, these little things build up to become resentment in your workplace, and you don't want to start having high blood pressure, osteoarthritis, and all these chronic diseases from your workplace. Those are things that you can avoid. You can stop them by knowing exactly what it is that you want and what you don't want. And I find that sometimes as women, we are reluctant to actually acknowledge what we want or what we don't want, especially. And here's where you can start. You can start with the things that irritate you or annoy you. Like, think about it. What irritates you? Do you find it annoying when a coworker comes in on Friday at 3 p.m. asking for feedback about an important project? It's just inappropriate timing, because 3 p.m. on Friday, you're probably wrapping up the work week, you're getting ready to go, your mindset is 10% out the door, and here it is, this person who wants to look like they're very hardworking comes in asking for feedback. So know what it is that you want and don't want. And if they consistently do it, that means that they're violating a boundary of yours. And you can stop that from happening by actually saying in a clear, polite way, Brad, how about we catch up Thursdays at 1 p.m. Every week, and then we can always nut out details about this important project, or find a suitable time for everybody else, but find a time that is not on a Friday, because typically in a workplace, Fridays are just not the best day to discuss big things and new things, because people are really wrapping up mentally, emotionally, practically. You're wrapping up the week. So you can even make a note of what you don't want. Just make a note, 3 or 4 things that consistently annoy you. Make a note about those things. Also think about the things that you have been doing and you no longer want to do them. What do I mean? Maybe you are the person who always writes the meetings, because when you first came in, you wanted to make a great impression and you would always volunteer to write the meeting minutes. Personally, I never, if you find me writing meeting minutes, it means I have to. I do not write meeting minutes. I typically delegate it because I believe I've done my fair share of writing meeting minutes. But if that was you in the beginning, a year or 2 or 3 years ago, and you were always writing minutes, and now everyone has come to expect it, so much so that people even get annoyed when you are not writing meeting minutes, then maybe you can write it down. I no longer want to write meeting minutes, because there's a lot of follow-up involved afterwards, typing them up, sending them out to people. It takes away from important key tasks that you need to do. Maybe you always used to volunteer to organize the workplace, Friday parties or whatever it is. Write it down. I no longer want to do this. So those things that are just aching you, that you're no longer available for, write it down. And what is it that you want? How do you want people to communicate with you? How do you want them to treat you? What do you want to see happening? Where do you want to go? Write those things down. They give you clear signals for where it is you want to go, and there will be a clear signal in aiding your communication, because once you know what you want, then you can clearly say it. You're not confused, you're not hesitating, you know what it is, you're not angry about it, you're not being aggressive, you are just expressing what it is that you want. Number 2, when you speak, make eye contact. I know this can be challenging based on your upbringing or cultural background, especially in cultures where male authority is really revered or looked up to. So you might be in a workplace where you might come from an environment where it's patriarchal, males dominate, you respect your father so much, and you know what, that's amazing. But when you come into the workplace, it's a different ballgame altogether. Remember, this is not your father in the workplace. This is a workplace where you want to advance, where you want to position yourself as a leader, and this will mean leading men in the workplace. So as a woman, make eye contact when you are speaking. Don't look down, don't be shy, don't toy around with your hair, and maybe that's why it's a good idea to not mix romance with the workplace. Keep those two things separately. I know for me personally, because my work life is a bit public in the sense that I'm here creating YouTube videos, I still reserve the right to maintain a distinction between my personal life and my work life. When I'm with my family, with my loved ones, we are not talking about YouTube or what I do here, because those two things are separate. I want to come away and just be home and just be, just keep those two things separate altogether. So what do I mean? When you come into work, when you're saying something, make eye contact, because then it shows that you mean what you say. And to some people, when you don't make eye contact, it's actually rude. And here you are thinking, oh my goodness, I'm being respectful by avoiding eye contact. Other people perceive it otherwise based on the culture that you live in. If you live in Australia, in America, eye contact is very important when you're speaking. People respect you more. They place more credibility in what it is that you're saying. Number 3 in communicating assertively is pay attention to your body language. Maintain an open and positive body language. Again, remember, you're going for the long game here. You just don't want to aggressively assert yourself and push people over. Not at all. You want to establish healthy communication as a norm. So maintain positive body language. What do I mean by this? Even if you're telling someone, not to violate a particular boundary, or you're pushing back against something that someone is saying or doing, you can do so with your arms open. You're not shutting yourself out. You're not tense. You're not frowning, and pay attention to your tone as well. You're not raising your tone unnecessarily, and your tone does not sound harsh and rude, because it might send the wrong message as well. Number 4 is practice the habit of having an opinion. So rather than maybe just speaking up in a massive meeting about what you believe in and asserting yourself, you can actually build it up and start small. So have an opinion. Don't sit there passively just pretending to agree with everything. So maybe there's a new policy that human resources has just implemented and you don't agree with the policy. Look at why you're not agreeing with that policy. You realize that this policy is going to lead to reduced morale amongst people, is going to lead to reduced profits in the organization. Then you can just approach the human resources in a private conversation and voice your opinion and say, I appreciate the new policy, and I'm sure a lot of work and thought has gone into creating this new policy, but I have some hesitation with that policy because I think it will lead to reduced morale, it will reduce the profits, it won't be beneficial in the long term. You can voice your opinion in a small setting and then build it up from there as you become more and more assertive. Number 5 in becoming more assertive at work is say no politely. You know what? I do not know what it is with adults. It's like we have been conditioned to think that no is a rude word, or it's rude to say no, or it's aggressive to say no. But hey, take a lesson from the 2-year-olds. They love the word no. It's like, it's their best word. They throw it around. Hey, drink your milk. No. Hey, don't do that. No. It's like, they just love the word no, right? And whilst they throw around the word no without discretion, I think that there's a lot of merit to the word no. And if you want to become assertive and to have healthy boundaries at work and to enjoy your time at work as well, like you don't want to be just hopping from one job to the next every 2 years. Like I'm not against that at all, but sometimes it's not necessary as well. So, if you create a culture of longevity, if you create a positive culture, it might not get to that where you have to quit because you haven't been assertive. So practice saying no. Hey, Lorraine, let's go for drinks on Thursday. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, I can't, And you don't even need to tell someone the reason why you can't. Like, they don't need to know that you want to spend extra time with your boyfriend or girlfriend. They don't need those details, Like sometimes people feel like following up the word no with this whole long communication. Or sometimes when people say no, they say no in anger. They're like, no. That you can actually say no whilst maintaining an open and positive body posture and tone as well, and it will not damage your relationships. In fact, people will respect you more. Don't you just respect people who, when they say no, they mean no, when they say yes, they mean yes? And don't you just lose respect for those people who will say yes and then cancel at the last minute all the time? I know I'm guilty of doing that sometimes, where I'll say yes and I realize, ooh, things are tight, and then I'll go back and apologize and then cancel that engagement. But now I try and avoid that by just really saying no in the beginning. Yesterday, I had a friend text me and she was inviting me to an event interstate next month. And you know what? In the past, many years ago, I would have said, let me think about it and get back to you, knowing very well that I'm not planning on traveling interstate for that event. So in this case, yesterday, I was like, thank you so much for the invite. No, I won't be able to make it because I'm not planning on traveling interstate. And then, that was it. Like, very simple. And my friend really appreciated the honesty and the feedback as well. So say no. The last and most important thing in becoming more assertive is actually owning your own mistakes. Take responsibility when things go wrong instead of blaming other people. This will build your muscle as an individual, because again, you're not perfect. You will make mistakes, you will mess up, and so are your colleagues as well. They're not perfect. They will mess up. And just knowing that will help you. It will help you, to step up assertively in the workplace, knowing fully well that you're a human being doing the best that you can. Here you go. Those are the ways in which you can become more assertive. Again, remember, if you're new here, hit subscribe. And if you're existing and you're back again here, you're a regular here, thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit the like button.